Don't talk to the old lady. She's just the cleaner. My daughter-in-law hissed at the receptionist, her voice sharp and impatient. I froze, clutching my purse tighter as the words sank in. The receptionist's eyes flickered nervously between us, unsure of what to do. The old lady in question, standing a few feet away with a mop in one hand and a rag in the other, smiled faintly at me. Her back was slightly hunched, and her gray hair was tucked neatly under a faded scarf. There was something gentle about her presence, a quiet dignity in the way she held herself despite her humble position. I felt a strange pull toward her, a curiosity that outweighed the sharp sting of embarrassment. My daughter-in-law, Sarah, had always been this way, so concerned with appearances, so obsessed with status, that she failed to see the humanity in people who didn't fit her carefully curated image of the world. But I couldn't ignore the old lady, whose eyes seemed to carry stories I couldn't yet understand. Ignoring Sarah's whispered protest, I took a step toward the cleaner. "Excuse me," I said softly, "could you help me with something?" Her eyes lit up, and she nodded, wiping her hands on her apron before approaching. "Of course, dear," she replied, her voice gentle and warm, the kind that could make a person feel instantly safe. We moved to a quiet corner of the lobby, away from Sarah's sharp gaze. I explained my dilemma. My purse had been stolen, and I suspected it had happened somewhere in this building. The receptionist had already offered a bland apology and a vague suggestion to check the CCTV, but no one had been particularly helpful. The old lady listened carefully, nodding occasionally. Then she said, "I might be able to help. I know this building like the back of my hand. Sometimes people forget, but there are corners no one pays attention to. Let's see what we can do." I was surprised by her knowledge, by her confidence. Something in me whispered that this simple, unassuming woman could help me more than anyone in this sterile, polished office could. Sarah, meanwhile, tapped her foot impatiently, arms crossed, muttering about how foolish it was to involve a cleaner in our affairs. But I didn't care. We started our quiet investigation. She led me through the maze of hallways and stairwells, places I had never noticed before. There was a rhythm to her movement, a familiarity that suggested she had walked these floors countless times, unseen yet always present. She pointed out hidden cameras, potential escape routes, and even a small ventilation shaft that someone could have used. Every observation she made was precise, thoughtful, and practical. As we walked, she spoke softly about her life. "I've worked here for over 30 years, she said, her eyes misty as she looked around the building. "I've seen all kinds of people come and go. Some are kind, some are cruel, but most are too busy with their own lives to notice anything else."
I listened, captivated. There was a wisdom in her words, an understated resilience that spoke of decades spent observing humanity without ever letting bitterness consume her. I realized then that Sarah's insistence on ignoring her was not just foolish, it was cruel. Finally, after an hour of searching, she paused outside a rarely used storage room. "This is where I think it happened," she said. "I saw someone lurking around here yesterday, someone in a hurry, who didn't belong." We entered carefully. The room was cluttered with boxes and old furniture, a place where things were easily forgotten. She crouched near the corner, brushing aside some boxes with her arthritic hands, and then held up a small, worn purse. My heart leapt. It was mine. "You found it," I exclaimed, relief flooding me. She smiled, but there was no pride in her voice, just quiet satisfaction. "It's all about paying attention," she said simply. "People assume because I clean and sweep, I don't notice things. But I notice everything." When I turned to thank her properly, I saw Sarah standing behind me, her face flushed with embarrassment. She had finally realized, perhaps too late, that her prejudices had blinded her to the truth. I offered the old lady my hand. "How can I ever thank you?" I asked. She shook her head gently. "No need. Just remember this, never judge someone by what they do, but by who they are." Over the following weeks, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I began visiting the building more often, not for any reason other than to see her. We talked about life, about family, about dreams she had once had but had set aside to work and care for others. She had been a teacher long ago, she told me, before circumstances forced her to clean offices for a living. Yet she carried that educator's patience and insight in every word she spoke, every move she made. I decided to invite her to tea one afternoon, a quiet gesture to show my appreciation. When she arrived, carrying a small tin of homemade biscuits, she looked surprised but pleased. We sat in my small apartment, sipping tea, talking about everything and nothing. She had a way of making ordinary moments feel extraordinary, simply by being present, simply by listening and caring.
As our friendship deepened, I began to see the subtle ways she touched the lives of everyone around her. The security guard always got a warm greeting from her. The office clerks, initially indifferent, began to smile when she walked by. Even Sarah, grudgingly, started to soften, observing the genuine affection people had for her. Months passed. One day, she confided in me a story that made my heart ache. "I had a son," she said quietly, her eyes clouding with sorrow. "He left when he was just a boy, and I never saw him again. I worked and waited, hoping he'd come back, but he never did. Some nights, I lie awake wondering if I failed him, if I could have done more." I took her hands in mine. "You didn't fail him," I said firmly. "Look at the lives you touch every day. You've given kindness, wisdom, and hope to countless people. That matters more than anything else." She smiled faintly, but I could see the weight she carried. Yet there was also pride in her eyes, a quiet knowledge that she had survived and thrived despite life's harshness. One chilly evening, as we walked together after her shift, a little girl ran up to her, hugging her tightly. "Thank you, Auntie," the girl exclaimed. "You helped me with my homework." The old lady laughed, ruffling the girl's hair. "You're very welcome, dear. Keep learning and never give up." I watched her, my heart full. How could anyone call this woman just the cleaner? She was a guardian, a teacher, a friend, and a source of quiet inspiration. She had seen the world from the margins but had never let the margins define her. It struck me then how much we miss in life when we judge by appearances. Sarah had almost missed the chance to see the extraordinary within the ordinary. I wondered how many other old ladies we pass by every day, not noticing the worlds of wisdom and experience they carry quietly within themselves. That night, I wrote in my journal, a story of a woman who cleaned floors but polished hearts, who worked unseen but impacted countless lives. I realized that life's true treasures often hide in plain sight, unnoticed until we dare to look closer, to listen, and to care. Years later, I still remember her as vividly as that first day. She taught me more than any book or lecture ever could. She taught me humility, patience, and the power of observing the world with an open heart. I often think of her when I meet someone who seems insignificant or unremarkable, and I remind myself to look deeper. Because sometimes, the people we overlook, the ones society deems just something or only someone, carry within them the wisdom, strength, and kindness that can change our lives forever. And as for Sarah, she learned the lesson too, though more slowly. She never mocked the cleaner again, and gradually, she too began to notice the quiet beauty in people she once dismissed. In the end, it wasn't the purse that mattered, or even the act of finding it. It was the recognition of a soul that refused to be diminished by the labels the world imposed. That old lady, that simple cleaner, had reminded me of the most important truth: dignity and humanity are not in what you do, but in how you see and care for the world around you. And I will never forget her. Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more amazing content. And click the bell icon, so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching!